Oh, that's Ron Williams. Okay, all right, cool.
All right, here we go. So we get started and play this real quick.
We've got 25 years of credibility. We're Emmy Award winning, the longest running talk show in syndication, and the only Black voice in TV news. America's Black Forum fills the void not covered by network weekend talk shows. For new perspectives on top stories, syndicated columnists Julian Bond, Deborah Mathis, and Armstrong Williams explode on the airwaves with energetic wit and incisive commentary.
It's not different. It's making a statement about what you believe in.
So see what all of America thinks on America's Black Forum as we celebrate our
25th anniversary.
All right, you even had Alan Keyes up in there.
Alan Keyes. Shout out to Alan Keyes, man. Shout out to that brother, man.
So welcome everybody. We're started.
This is I gotta find so far I just called this YouTube's Black Forum. Okay. So we're having these adult conversations. Some people were supposed to be here, but hey, they got their own thing going. It's all good. But we're gonna just make people think a little bit. I'm just tired of I'm gonna win the argument thing. We want to find out. I'm tired of it, man. I want to be able to really solve some things, and it's good to have opposing views. So because it's something that I take opposing view most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time I take opposing views as something that I did not see that somebody else saw. Mm-hmm. That's the way I get it. So I'm like, okay, well, give me more about your opposing view. Now, if they say, well, that's because I say so, I'm like, that's not an opposing view. You're just trying to be what's the word you call it? A contrarian.
Right.
So I'm not into that. But I got two of the most important brothers, I think so. And these kind of conversations that'll be able to give us these different points of views and see what we can do with it. Today, we're going to be talking about solving the education problem in our community within politics, though, political language. Okay, so the goal is to walk away with something that maybe either one side could take to their party that everyone supports, if that makes sense to people. That's what we're trying to do. I have a strong belief that the party is not supposed to use you. You're supposed to use the party. You're supposed to pimp the party. It's probably not supposed to pimp you. Okay? Opportunities are in there that you could use instead of them turning you into their opportunity. So I think that's what I've learned over the years, unless somebody can tell me something different. So I want you guys to introduce yourselves. Let us know who you are and what you do if you want. Starting up top, Mr. Isles.
Mark Anthony Isles. Run for office twice myself. Served at two national Republican conventions as a delegate. Served in one international. I guess it was a symposium representing the state of California. Part of the United States delegation. I've managed several political campaigns. I write political commentary, and I'm a father and grandfather.
Dang, you look kind of young to be a grandpa, man.
Well, I turned 60 in July, so take that as a compliment.
Oh man, salute!
I'm gonna send you up something new.
I took a picture with me and your profile we talked about. I'm gonna send a picture to you. You're gonna laugh. I just found it.
Okay. My profile, which one?
Helene, brother Helene.
Oh,
red hair freckles.
Not just my profile. I was his special.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm gonna say it to you.
He's the reason why I pledged.
Oh my God!
I had respect for him, man. He was a very important image on our campus. at my age of 18. His image was a very important image to me.
Okay. All right. I'll let people know what we talked about later on. But
Okay.
then we have the brother downstairs there in the outer realm. Introduce
Yo,
yourself, sir.
brother downstairs from the outer rim. Okay, so just to give a brief synopsis of who I am, and I guess I'll go back to some of my credentials, and I'll try to be as straightforward and still keep my anonymity as much as I can.
Crown us.
But yeah, I go by DC here. I almost actually said my name. I go by DC here, but
Okay.
I'm a brother that's been working in politics or government circles for the last 20 years now. I'm a native of DC. Everybody, I guess that's been here knows that about me. I do tend to try to keep it balanced and independent. If I was to choose a party affiliation, it most likely would be Democratic. And we can get into that probably a little bit later on the reason why that is. I also work, like I said, with government agencies. So I'm sort of like on the independent side of things. So I am very familiar with that side of it also. And I am a political science major, just for point of reference. And yeah, I'm here to kind of get into the dialogue and the discourse, and hopefully we can get some of the things that you want, get some of these things done that we were trying to talk about earlier. All right, I'm down for it. I'm here for it. Is there anything else I need? Oh, I am a family man also. Have a daughter that I love very, very much. I think everybody here did a little cold break on from time to time. And yeah, man, just a balanced brother, man, from the hood, man, that made good, and so to speak. So yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Child of the 90s. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm in the middle of both you guys, huh? Because I'm slightly older than you and slightly younger than Brother Isles here. So we're going to tackle education. Okay, so let me put the canvas out there for you. So far right now, for 2020, it's kind of weird. I'm looking at this number here. For as far as the education, the budget in education is about $66.6 billion, right? So now we're going into 2021. It's going to be either reduced by 6.1 or 8.4. And I think that's at the discretion of Biden, right? Depending on how.
No, I don't. You're talking about the educational budget?
Once it's, as far as being reduced in 2021.
Well, it will be to his discussion. I mean, discretion if he wants to keep it. I mean, he can put in an executive order to change that, of course. But it depends on who is secretary, who's going to be over the Department of Education. I think they haven't actually decided that as of yet. So the way it's leaning, because he seems to be having a kind of moderate centrist cabinet right now, as far as what I'm. And Mark, you can kind of interject here and kind of get me straight on some of these things. Also, it seems that he's leaning towards that way of trying to keep some of the good things that Trump had put into place. Trying to trim some of the fat of the educational budget, but I'd imagine that he's going to increase that because it needs to be increased. It just needs to be reallocated, especially now that we're dealing with COVID, with the COVID crisis, and then a lot of people are going to be dealing with at-home schooling. So a lot of people still need computers at home. They need to get their children kind of like formally trained or kind of transitioned into possibly going to school primarily at home, and supplies also. Just to kind of give you a heads up, I just picked up some supplies for my daughter right before we actually came on. I actually did that. So it's kind of interesting that we're kind of talking about that. But yeah, I think that it's going to kind of break down the middle. It kind of reduce keep some of the reductions in that was needed, and then basically kind of increase some of the funding where it's needed, especially with some of the schools that may need like extra computers and things of that nature for kids that don't have them.
Okay. So You kind of when you jumped ahead of me, but it's fine.
Oh
Yeah,
no, my
'cause
bad. You should have stopped me, man.
it's
You
okay.
should just stop me from rocking. My
It's
bad.
okay.
I just kind of wanted to kind of give a reason why, but I think to answer your question, I think that it's Trump's reduction, but Biden most likely is going to possibly increase it
Okay.
by executive order.
Okay.
But it all depends on his who's going to be over his educational department once he actually names that person.
Okay.
How they want to play it.
All right. So wow, welcome back, Mela. Gee Willikers. I haven't seen her in a minute. She's probably watching the clouds. So I itemized it. So basically is like you said, equipment, supplies, staff, facilities.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. Also, it's supposed to address the equity gaps within different communities. So that's very important. And then on top of that, it also goes into the lunch programs.
Yeah.
I wonder where they got the lunch programs from.
Black Panthers.
Black Panther.
Exactly.
We did that.
Right. So they
You're
made a national thing, right?
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and that's another thing that's kind of well. No, I'm not going. We'll
Go ahead, man. There's only 3 of us.
Well, no, I mean, I thought that I don't want to get ahead, so I'll wait. It's not really. I was going to go into a whole thing about that, but no, that's not necessary. Go ahead.
Okay,
We'll keep
so
it on topic.
I think we had a small discussion earlier, and we all agreed that each group has different needs that needs to be met or even addressed to at least be on the even playing field with the others. Correct? Whether no matter what side you're on.
Right.
Some of us have children, grandchildren. We want them to be able to compete just like everybody else.
Well, right? I think it goes even deeper than that. I mean,
break it down. Break it down.
My concern for education is, I'm concerned for the immigrant whose children don't speak English as their first language. I want to make sure that we appropriate funds to address them. They're here. I'm not interested in being a part of the group that's asking them to leave because, quite frankly, I see them as a great asset to America. And it is in our best interest, not just from an academic standpoint or educational standpoint, but just being pragmatic human beings to respond to their educational needs. And often the folks that get their educational needs addressed in America are the ones who have advocates. It's all about advocacy, and that's the one thing that is lacking most amongst our immigrant population, particularly those that don't speak English as their first language, is advocacy. And I'm once it all breaks down, we need to be mindful of them. That's the reason why I don't like, because it's in the best interest of everyone. I don't care what color you are, what your economic background is. It's in the best interest of all of us to make sure that those, particularly the males, don't come up angry and incapable of leaving high school to find or pursue employment. That is not in the best interest of. That is in no one's best interest. And the way to prevent that is to make sure when they leave high school they can read and write, because there's only one thing that habitual criminals across America, the 2.2 million of them that are habitual, have in common. Only one thing: they can't read.
So we hear that, but what we're trying to do is address the immediate needs of our grandchildren first that we can do, because we don't have that kind of luxury to make all kinds of decisions to see,
you do. You do,
well,
actually.
Let me finish first.
You do.
Let me finish. So meaning that, the stuff that are people that are already doing in power right now, they already addressing their constituents that are putting things together as packages for them to make sure things happen. Even the immigrant people, they have those things. As us as Black folks, we don't have that. And we're talking about people that don't speak English. They have advocates. So we're trying to find out the advocates that we supposedly have. They're not, according to Ice Cube, they ain't doing much.
Well,
right?
that's two different stories. That's two. Yeah, I hear you, but that's two different issues. Look, my grandson is now in the seventh grade. Yes, he's in the seventh grade. His entire career, academic career, I have been on the site committee. He's in his third school now, and I'm not on the site committee in his third school primarily because they are only school is remote. But his two previous schools, I was on the site committee. The first one I served as an officer, all the way up to chairman of the site committee. And the fact of the matter is that there's the federal government. I don't care if it's a Republican administration. I don't care if it's a Democrat administration. And it doesn't matter what the figure is. We always want to put more money into education. And I'm always in favor of that. You can never go wrong doing that. But the number is going to be whatever the number is going to be. And that number is then going to be distributed to each state. The
But
governor
it's
of
not
each
evenly.
state is
You
going
know,
to
it's not
put
evenly,
his,
right?
pardon me?
You know, it's not distributed evenly, right?
That's a different. I said the number is going to be what the number is.
Okay, I'm just making
Yeah,
sure
the
people know.
number is going to be what the number is. I'm not even talking about equity of distribution. That's a whole nother.
That's why we're coming together to make sure we do get equity.
Well, I ain't got no. Obviously, I'm not opposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that when that number finally gets to your child's school, it's the site committee that is going to decide whether how that money is distributed and how it is spent.
Now you know that they have a commission that comes and audit different schools to make sure things are appropriate, correct?
They do.
Okay.
And there's all kind of problems with that. The major problem, in my opinion, in education, especially in California, this may not be true across the country, and I'm only familiar with what happens in California. The problem is that it is managed on a micro level. It's managed on a macro level. In other words, the principals have no power and no influence. And it needs to be reversed. In California, there's 11 administrators to every one principal. And there should be one principal, there should be one administrator to every 11 principals. The principals and vice principals should be running the schools. The teachers are doing an excellent job. Anyone that thinks, like I did, I used to think it was the teachers. Wrong. It is not the teachers. The teachers.
Mark, you need to back up from your camera because all we see is lip. You're gonna be putting funny stuff in the chat.
You got a problem with my big lips?
No. I'm like, what the heck? But go ahead, continue, brother. Continue.
I'm thinking I'm only audio and not even visual. I forgot this was audio and visual. But the teachers are not the problems. The teachers are put in a position where they're almost designed to fail, because first of all, they are giving data that they're supposed to respond to that is collected across the state, and that data doesn't respond to the unique circumstances of that particular school or that particular school district. More importantly, that school starts in September. They don't usually get the data until February or March, and school is over in June. So the way we manage education is ineffective. Period.
Now, DC,
I don't care where you come from; it's ineffective. And frankly, we don't need all of these PhDs. We don't need 11 administrators to every one principal. What we need is one administrator to every 11 principals, and we need to put the principals and the vice principals back in control of their schools. And each school can collect their own data, and that data can be readily available in September when the teachers are ready to move forward, so that they know exactly where each student is, each grade level is performing in mathematics, in English, in history, in whatever subject matter.
Okay.
What difference does it make how a kid in Palos Verdes is performing in mathematics for a kid in South Central Los Angeles? It matters not.
Okay, so brother DC, you wanted to tackle some of this too?
Yeah, I mean, the funding is always been an issue as far as getting the funding correct and get it allocated to the people that need it the most. But just like shout out to the chat, I think it was Squeaky G, or I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. But yeah, the problem is that education has been privatized. So when you have a situation where there's a competition for schools and who gets the best equipment and whatever tax bracket you in, that's where the problem, back to what he's saying, that's where that lies. Because yeah, principals in inner city schools, just say inner city communities where most of us reside, back to the macro, they're not getting the funding that they need. But it's just because the allocation is moved to those places where they spend the most money. So if I spend the most money in, say, this particular bracket, for you guys, I guess it would be Beverly Hills, I don't know, like one of the rich areas where you guys stay, Laguna Hills or something, those schools, of course, are going to be better than the schools in Inglewood or South Central. I know that. That's a fact. I mean, why would I know that? I've never been in California, but I know that those monies are being allocated to different places. And not only do that affect the children, it affects the parents that are basically educating the children. Nobody wants to feel that way about their child going to a decrepit school or a school that doesn't have the necessary funding that they need, which it inverts the process. So you have principals that are disillusioned because they're not getting the money that they need, and then it filters down to the teachers are not basically doing the job that they need to do. So they're overworked, they're overstressed, dealing with children that have issues at home that come from broken communities, and they can't be able to teach them well because they're hungry, or they're dealing with mom and dad issues. Mom has a boyfriend that is beating or molesting them and things of that nature. So we have a whole host of issues where people at the very top, speaking about the administrators and everybody with these doctorates or PhDs, and no offense to that, but what ends up happening is you want to satisfy those people that got those dollars that's going to basically pay that's going to fill in your pocket. So to move up in this educational system, and you align with the people that got the money.
Yep.
And the poor communities are the ones that are suffering at the end of the day. And that's where I think this goes back into the politics of everything, because now everybody is disillusioned about politics now, because you don't believe in it. You don't think that it works for you because of this. And that's why it always goes back to, well, what have these people done for you? What are they doing for you? And it's everybody aligning their pockets about who's going to put money into them and get them to where they need to be. And then everybody else just falls by the wayside. But here's the problem with that. The black male, what I'm particularly focused on, especially young ones, in the information age that we're in now, we know the gaps. We know who needs to help the most. And when it comes down to the black male, from like I think Hwanza Kung Fu, he wrote the book The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, and that was like when I was in third grade. So somebody shared that book, because he was from DC. Well, not from DC. He was basically out of DC, locally here. And, he spoke to a lot of churches and stuff like that about the book that he was writing back in the 80s, early 80s or whatever. And he was talking about the third grade was the actual pinpoint to where the educational system broke down for the young black boys in inner city communities. And that would have been to where I was in the third grade or fourth grade at the particular time when this book came out, right? And you saw where basically guys started skipping school around that time. Things like that. Well, it was a lot of other things going on, but not to go veer off. But what I'm saying is, it's a very nuanced problem. The issue is who's responsible, because if you got all of these people that you can point to as far as like, well, whose fault is it? Then it becomes a political game, and then it never works out when it gets into the big stage and people are basically pointing fingers about who's doing what and what's doing what, because it's not always one person. It comes down to who's doing the work on the ground. And if you're dealing with the principals are not getting what they need. They're not even getting the books. They're not getting the computers. They're not getting the resources for those kids, clean water, food lunches, lunch programs for some of the kids that cannot get the actual lunches or the food from their parents once they come home. It's a situation that's very nuanced. That's all I'm saying. So who's responsible for that at the end of the day? So that's what I wanted to add in on that. I think the money needs to be allocated to people that need it the most, but the point is, why is it not doing that, and why are people keeping that money in certain circles where the zip code is already basically filtering that money, cycling that money over and over again in those particular communities? Hence the reason why you get a brain drain in inner city communities, why people say, well, I'm going to leave. For us, it will be here. I'm going to leave Southeast. I'm going to leave I'm going to leave Capitol Heights. I'm going to leave Landover. I'm not going to stay. People, you guys talk about PG County all the time. I know people that say, I'm never going to stay in PG County. I'm going to move to Anne Arundel County. I'm going to move to Montgomery County. I'm going to move somewhere else to where my kid can have a chance to get a quality education. That's why you have people lying about, and I think that was out in California where you have people lying about where they stayed in California. If they had like a cousin or something that stayed in a nice area, they say, let me use your address so my kid can get educated out there, and we'll drop them off at your house and let them go to school out there. And then once they found out that those people were basically having those issues or doing that, then they broke the law, right? Because of course that person stays in another community. So, I mean, when you get situations, people desperate to that nature to where they want to get their kids educated and they cannot, then the system is broken at that point.
So let me first announce, okay, if anybody's coming in, please like and share, because we're doing some real talking here. That's why it's only 3 of us. Later on, once they're finished, we can put the chat, the link in the chat. And if anybody is here now want to stay, fine. But if not, they can come up and comment on some of the things that they heard. Some of the things that DC and Mark was talking about, I think I can fill in some of the gaps. Now, it sounds like a game, but this even involves real estate, to be honest, as far as test scores, right? Property, because your property value goes up when a lot of schools have high test scores. I don't know if anybody understand that. Also, we have what you call ADA, that's average daily attendance.
Correct.
So if your ADA is on lock, right, then basically you get more money from your states. That's what Mark was talking about. Now, the other thing too is that you get that bonus when your test scores are up. So say, for example, each child is probably going to get about like maybe $50 a day that they come to school. All right. Now, but other cities get 75. Some get, 40. It depends. So sometimes people look at that and they look at their property tax like, God dang, why is it going up so high? And that's one of the things, that should be able to tell you, hey, you need to get involved, right? So also the other thing too is now we're going to talk about how the money is being funneled. Okay, so now we're looking at federal. When the money start coming through there and the test scores are high and all the marks and benchmarks are met, the money goes straight to the students. All the student, it's almost like, hey, since you get this, there's your reward: new computers, new books, new this, new that. The ones that are struggling, the money goes to specialists. Okay, you got people that come out and say no to drugs, stay in school, and you give them $200,000, they're gone. You got different programs that come in that address like a lot of behavior issues. You have school site psychiatrists. All that money goes to them. So that's why you get some of these hand-me-down books and outdated computers and stuff. That's one of the reasons why. But also, what I was talking about before, where you have commissions that come in and do auditing. If that money is not put where it's supposed to be, then they can enforce that and bring in another specialist to make sure the money goes where it's supposed to be. That's what I was trying to say earlier. So when it comes to our groups and things like that, I think that some schools did have that where they had the district taken over because of that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's happened in several California communities, which I won't name them, but
right.
Well, it's not necessary to name them because it's not just that community. That community may have just had a little worse managers, but the fact of the matter is, and I don't care which community is or where you are on the economic ladder in California, the majority of money in California for education goes into administration, not into the classroom. It does not get to the classroom because the system is top heavy, and it's not top heavy just in South Central. It's top heavy across the state of California because California has used the educational arm of the state to create jobs, and the jobs have not been manufacturing jobs. The jobs haven't been. We eliminated from the educational process. We eliminated music. We eliminated shop class. We eliminated print shop, wood shop. We eliminated all of those, crafts that back in the 70s and the 80s that graduated C students with an employable skill. They were already at the journeyman level. They were ready to step into that beginning role as journeymen because of 3 years of occupational electronics, 3 years of auto mechanics, 3 years of printing, 3 years of woodwork. They were already prepared for the beginning level of a profession, and we eliminated them all. And we eliminated them all because the state of California needed to pay for the fact of the matter is that the Democratic Party of California needed to pay off minorities and women for supporting them. And when you look at the education, you look at the PhDs, it's 60-70% minorities and women. And that's just a fact. You can dispute it as a fact, or dispute it as because nobody will ever give you empirical evidence. And I don't even have empirical evidence. I'm just telling you, I see it. I know that it is a fact.
Yeah. So you know that your party for the most part has always been a champion, has trying to cut and eliminate the arts and education.
Incorrect.
For the most part.
That's incorrect.
So can you break that down? Because a lot of news been out there, including even Trump's administration has something out there in February talking about eliminating the federal arts.
Yeah,
go into that if you can.
Yeah, that's a whole different argument. That's not arts in education. That's arts. That's a whole different. That's a professional community of government philanthropy that has nothing to do with education. But in the state of California, it was the Republicans that argued against. In fact, it wasn't just the Republicans. It was even white Democrats. It was actually white Republicans and white Democrats that argued against eliminating, at least in California, eliminating music, eliminating and the crafts from high school. It was the black and minorities that and mostly it wasn't the inner city blacks. It was the PhDs, because they're the ones that stood to benefit, and they did benefit. They're the ones that's getting those $125,000 a year to $175,000 a year jobs.
So you're saying that you had a lot of, we're going to use the word elitist black folks that benefit from these arts and
the black elite. I'm saying the black elite has failed the black underclass. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, I'm trying to paint a picture for the chat out there. So you're saying that when they were younger, they took advantage of these opportunities, but as they rose to prominence, they voted or worked to try to cut it.
Well, they didn't vote to cut it. They did cut it. They cut it.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely eliminated it. And now all of them, every one of them. I mean, there's no reason for no. Why haven't we seen advancement in South Central LA and in Old Town? Come on, California is a completely controlled by Democrats and have been for 20 years. Can't blame nothing on the Republicans here.
So flipping it
in office.
So flipping it, you're saying that not the Republicans were championing for the arts while the Democrats were trying to cut it or cut it.
That's not what I'm saying, because it wasn't Republicans. Although Republicans did lead the fight, there were plenty of Democrats, white Democrats. It was white folks that did it. Frankly, it was just plainly white folks. They were Democrat and they were Republican. It was white folks that did it. And they lost. They lost because why? Because the Democratic Party needed the black elite. The black elite delivered the black vote. And these are just things that are just facts. These are facts. These are just facts.
DC? Before we go on to the next part, DC, you want to go in and address anything?
Well, I mean, I don't really have like any dispute. I mean, that seems to be like a regional response to what guys are what's happening on the ground out there in California. So you guys are the experts on that.
Well, that was huge, though. That was what he said was huge. We even talked about the birth of hip hop. The reason why hip hop came about because they cut out music in schools.
Correct.
Yeah, that's true. And I know that you know, wood shop and all that was like part of the schools, and that kind of like got, you know, totally, it was gone by the time I got to junior high. It was already gone. They took that out of the schools of getting people that may have been more I guess not suited, but more interested in that kind of occupation, and you know, was willing to do that for a living, and instead of just sitting in class and, you know, do things with their hands, you know, like even putting like a structure together. Like my older brother, you know what I mean, he had like built a whole house from scratch off wood and glue when he was in junior high. And once I got to the same junior high school, it was already gone. But, you know, like I said, I went to, you know, city schools, and you know, just from my point of view, I know you guys are a little bit older than me. I guess it kind of started with us, you know, where we started at been primarily taught by substitute teachers. We didn't have a primary teachers in a lot of our classes. A lot of our classes were overcrowded. And most of the time, especially when it got down to like junior high and high school, most of the time it was just babysitting, you know, trying to control the environment. And there were some teachers that cared, and some that they've been there for a long time, and they saw how the educational system started to change and shift. And the administrators, there's a big thing in that. But like I said, when it comes down to that, that's a bipartisan issue. I wouldn't just put that on a Republican or Democrat as far as that is concerned. That's both parties allowing the decay to fester in those communities. Because like I said, all California educational systems are not bad. I mean, there are very good high schools and junior high schools and educational systems that are not in these particular areas. And the question is, why is that? And when it comes down to it, why are those schools not getting the attention that they need?
Yeah, I want to touch on that.
You know, so that's where we're at with it. And I mean, everybody sees it and knows it now. It's just the fact of why we continue to play these educational games. I mean, we got charter schools, but we know charter schools can't basically replace the public school system.
They're not hitting the
other
benchmarks
kids
either.
that's left. Yeah, so
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said they're not hitting the benchmarks either. I'm just
okay.
going in with you.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was looking at that earlier. I mean, I could share it, but I was looking at the proficiency rates and the you know, the needs met and things like that as far as scores and everything. Mm-hmm. The charter schools nationally is slightly lower than the public schools. Right. Even though you have your Head Starts and everything, they still not making the mark. You know
what's so weird about California is that some of the most popular, I would say, that created the modern Republican Party came out of California, straight from California. That would be Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan,
which cut after school programs.
Those are the people that created the modern, cut taxes here, but you're going to suffer somewhere else. And that's how it always is. You know, it's always a trade-off. You can't do something. It's almost like, you know, those parables where you heal something, but if you heal something, then something else has to die. That's the balance of life. That's the way it is. It's just finding that balance, being able to do it. That's what politics is really for. If you have a way of basically trying to come together and come together with people that may fundamentally disagree with you, but you got to choose the best way to go forward for the both of you guys, so you both could live in peace. That's really what it's for. Right. And if it comes down to the children, you got to do the best for the children, because this is what happens. The decay, it filters in everywhere. We see it now. You know, it starts to kind of filter up, because that smell that's at the bottom is going to reach.
Yep.
it's going to spill over. And then by the time it spills over, then you have a culture problem. And just like what BGS said, shout out to BGS, a culture shift is very, very hard to change.
Yes, it is.
You know, because it's all ingrained now, because you got people in the suburbs that want to be like the inner city kids.
Right.
And so that's where you really have a serious issue now.
Yeah.
But let me address something real quick. So we were talking about the administration, you know, getting these multiple administrations, including deans, right? A lot of these, the ones that have multiple administration are usually the ones that are in inner city schools.
Right.
You know, they're the ones that have to do activities, they have to do you know, curriculum, what's the other one? Discipline, grounds, all that kind of stuff. And every one of them have to have some kind of share in doing a lot of discipline, because that's probably one of the main things that's been going on in inner city schools, probably since the 70s. There's always been some discipline issues.
Right.
And then later on, they ushered in school police, you know, stuff like that.
Inner city schools had discipline issues in the 70s. I think that's the 80s. It emerged in the 80s, maybe the late 70s.
Yeah, I would say the late 70s, because we're talking about what's that dude's name? Carlson in New York. Something Carlson, I forgot his name.
Carter.
Yeah, he was a very troubled person, teen in the 70s.
You talking about Kennedy? You talking about Kennedy?
No, his last name was Carlson.
Oh,
but I forgot his first name. But they made a movie about him.
Yeah, I don't.
And later on, he rose to prominence and became a highly political figure after becoming a cop. I forgot his name though. I mean, I forgot his first name. If anybody in the chat knew who I'm talking about, but he's a New York legend.
Right. Well, I think if you look at disciplinary issues in public education, they'll parallel the rise in females taking over as principals in schools.
That's another one. Ooh.
I'm going to tell you right now, as a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, there wasn't no female principal that could handle me.
Right.
Period.
I remember that. That's the time we were getting SWATs.
That's exactly right. And I stayed getting SWATs.
Okay. Yeah. I think I heard a lady's leg trying to give me SWATs when I was little.
Women came in, and and all of a sudden, that was not that's not appropriate. It's violence. It's whatever, So the bottom line is that we get the culture that we create. And like DC was saying, he alluded to something that is a huge problem in when you were mentioning, DC, about the disparities between communities and why they exist. One of the reasons that the disparity exists is called dumping.
Okay.
They take all the bad teachers and dump them in the inner city.
Yeah. Yes,
correct.
And
correct.
then they send all of the top quality seat teachers. They send them out to the better areas.
Right.
I
see it all the time.
And that's a direct. That you can draw a direct line from that practice continuing to happen to the failure of the Congressional Black Caucus and anybody representing any inner city community. There's no way that should be happening.
Now, one thing I will push back on is that's what I'm saying. Like the pointing. Like I'm not here to I'm not here to kind of absolve the boule.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Because I know that's a fact. That is prevalent. It exists. Yes. They love to be in their circles. They do not generally care about some of the ones that are left behind, so to speak.
I'm a Republican, and we are accustomed to being cited as all the problems, being cited as the reason for all the problems in the inner city. And I'm one that's I tend to fight back on that.
It's not that. Here's the thing. It's just, what are the people that are suffering the most left with? Right. See, it's like I can't explain it, man, because like I said, when I was going to school, I started to see the shift. I had metal detectors at school. you know, in junior high and high school. You know, I knew guys that brought guns and people getting shot off campus, on campus, at schools. You know, the drug trade was in full effect at that particular time. The teachers didn't have control. They couldn't understand us at that particular moment. So there was a shift. There was a culture. It was a shock to them. Some of the older teachers, and you're right, there was a dumping ground. There was clearly a situation where the teachers got overwhelmed. They dumped the teachers that should have been retired, trying to get them on out the paint, that was collecting checks that was from the 50s and the 60s that may have taught like your uncle or your older brothers and things of that nature. Like they had the same teachers, but the teachers at that particular time that were older, like that was in the 50s or 60s, became so disillusioned that they didn't care about teaching the kids anymore, even though they may have been good teachers. And the younger ones, the more vibrant ones that were just fresh out of college, even the black ones, they moved them out of the school. Or if they did not want to get moved out of the school, they had to request to stay. Because like I said, I knew a lot of good teachers that were like a little bit closer to our age group, maybe like in their late 20s, early 30s, black people at that particular time that decided to stay around because they knew if they left, it would have been a complete brain drain. But to speak to your point in particular about the Black Caucus, I do know that they do fight on paper for educational opportunities. But see, here's the thing though, depending on what side of the aisle it is and things of that nature, they don't see the importance. I'm just saying everybody, this is everybody included when it comes down to education, especially. Nobody seems to care about trying to correct the problem at the bottom. I mean, it seems like everybody wants to line their pockets up and say, well, you know, who's the mayor of that city? Well, of course, the mayor is beholden to the city manager. You know, whoever's over the city manager, they have a council. And then, of course, they're beholden to whoever the actual person is, the congressional person that's over that district, right? And then you roll up and then you say, okay, who's the governor? And then that's where you start to get to the meat of it. Because here's the thing, a lot of that time when these states are being ran, they ran like the little United States. Like you in California. California is basically ranked as far as like just the state being by itself as one of the most powerful economic bases in the world. You know what I'm saying? Texas too. I mean, that's something.
Sixth largest economy in the world.
Yeah. So that should tell you, the governor of California is Gavin Newsom, right? Very powerful person.
Gavin, correct.
Yeah, very powerful person, and the people that's under him, very powerful people. But here's the thing: before it gets to Gavin Newsom, there's a lot of people that you have to go through to get to him, and that's what we're talking about: the red tape, the full discussion.
Right.
Hey, baby girl. And that's where it gets difficult because then those people don't want it to get to Gavin. He doesn't want to deal with that directly. He got other things to do, like the whole economy of the whole state. That's more of a macro job, the governor. Governor, I don't got time for that. That's what you guys are supposed to do.
So
that's where we get the red tape and the difficulty of how to run some of these states. That's where the actual problems lie.
So let's go with that then, because you mentioned Gavin Newsom. He's a Democrat,
right? And the mayor here, well, not the mayor. I'm sorry. I stay in Maryland now, so in Maryland is Hogan. So Hogan is our governor, and he's Republican, but he is more of a progressive Republican. He's not your typical, right-leaning Republican. He has a more of a matter of fact. So he does a lot of things on the ground to try to make it more progressive for certain kids and things of that nature. So he's done a lot of good. So.
Yeah, so
that's the man that I actually voted for, to be honest. Straight up.
What I'm trying to do is you mentioned Gavin Newsom being this powerful guy. Basically, for the most part, we can probably agree that he pretty much reserve his ears mostly for, Democrats, but yet every now and then do things with Republicans if it's worth doing, right?
Yeah,
I doubt it. Not in California. I think the Democrats have no reason to take into consideration Republican thinking or Republican policies at all.
Okay.
Republican Party, for all practical purposes, is dead in California.
So let's I'm trying to because I'm gonna shrink it down because I was thinking nationally, but I'm gonna shrink it down to California for a minute.
That's a huge statement. I don't know about that, brother.
Yeah. So
name me 3 elected Republicans in the state of California.
Well, I can't name that. I
mean,
just
I don't
know
mean
that there's some powerful. I know that there's some powerful Republican electorates there in California.
there isn't. There isn't.
Mm,
There isn't. You know, I'll bet you in the state assembly, there's maybe 3. There might be 6 in the state Senate. The Democrats don't have to consider Republicans for anything here.
So let me ask you
And
this.
the reason why is the Republican Party, quite frankly, in California, needed to be destroyed because they were ineffective. They were extremely selfish. You know, most people would have labeled them as being racist, but I was there. They weren't intelligent enough to be racist. They were just simply selfish.
okay.
It was just. I'll give you an example. I have a very, very good friend of mine who ran for state assembly, and he was a sharp brother. He's currently on the city council, I believe, in West Covina. I mean, a sharp brother, law enforcement, good father. You know, basically the Republican version of Barack Obama. And he was running in an open seat. The incumbent was termed out, and he would have done a superior job in Sacramento for the image of Republicans and for the state of California, and they didn't support him. And as a result of it, he didn't win. And the person they put into office was about as incompetent, and he was just simply, it was just nepotism. He was basically the son of the termed out incumbent, and you know, he actually had the nerve to, because I was very verbal about that, he had the nerve to try and physically confront me. And he was very fortunate because we were surrounded by other members of the state assembly and folks that knew me, and they quickly let him know that was not a wise thing to do. And so he backed down. And he was a big old corn-fed Caucasian. I didn't care.
You want him to get some smoke.
Hey, bro, I'm telling you, I don't have soft hands. And I come out of a fighting family, so I can mix it up.
That's why I brought him up here, man. I mean, y'all didn't see him in the 90s, but I saw him in the 90s. He's toned down, but man, telling you, I just get quiet when he, you know, in the 90s, I just get quiet when he talks.
I have never defended the Republican Party. I'm a nemesis of the Republican Party. I'm going to continue to be a nemesis of the Republican Party, and I'm not going nowhere. And like I tell them, I didn't stop at the door to check to see if my name was on the welcome pad.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm welcome or not. I ain't asking for permission to be here, and I'm not going to ask for permission to get done what needs to be done, in my opinion, to make sure that my grandson, his children, and his children's children we've laid the groundwork for the establishment of a level playing field. I don't expect you guys to establish that playing field. That's up to DC, Art, and every other self-respecting person of color listening to this. It's up to us to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
well, what's the ladies? I just real quick, because I know I just seen her. She was on what's that Sunday news program that what's the name used to have? She was just on there. She was talking about the very same thing, but she was talking from a very white perspective. She's over the Republican. Y'all got like it's the California Republican something.
Oh, is it Shirley?
No.
It's Maria.
I don't know.
She's the minority lead. I forget her name, man. Waldron. I remember her. She was speaking. Man, she was talking about that very same issue about how they're not. It's not the same as it was back in the 80s. How basically they're being pulled. Any Republican has to be pulled to like center left to hold any kind of political office, in the House of Representatives. I don't know exactly how many you have there. Yeah, center. Well, center. She was saying center left because center right is already like an issue with some of the Republicans that are already there. Like I think most of the Republicans there have to be center right.
Yeah, I don't think so now. I think that right now the party is positioned for reform, and anybody that's got the courage.
Yeah, she's I think her name is Marie I think that's her name, Marie Waldron, and then there's a Susie, I think that's right under her. They're two white women that I'm talking about. But yeah, right. they're like dealing with the whole issue of reforming the party out in California, Republicans basically.
Okay, but before we go too further on, I really want to start tackling in certain things that we can package to take to the people that can make the decisions. You know, that say, hey, we'll approve this.
Well, I'd say the number one thing is to return music,
but
job class.
Let me take the steps first. Let me do the steps first.
Okay.
Okay. So we mentioned Gavin Newsom. You already established that he's not going anything Republican. He's just not going to deal with anybody Republican, correct?
Oh, he doesn't have to. He
or
might.
The state of California.
He doesn't have to. If he does, it'll be a credit to his character.
Okay. So now
I wouldn't count as an ally.
You know, because I do run into Black Republicans that do care for Black communities, right?
Yeah,
they sit in commissions and different meetings, and they're part of different organizations for the needs of Black people, right? But they do see something slightly different from the other side, right? As it should, right? Now, the thing is, so the question is, okay, we're in California, DC. You're in California. You're not in DC. You're not in DC anymore. You're out here. We took you out here.
Okay, I see. I know, right? I'm speaking on you guys.
You're in the inner realm. You're not in the outer realm.
Yeah, I'm way
so you're over here
to the left of it. Okay, go ahead, man.
So you're over here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to say that, you know, we could just pick an issue. For the most part, we're going to say that we'll say most of the inner city schools, especially where Black people are, have very bad facilities, all kinds of things going on, right? Now, the thing is, you have a situation to where white folks on the right and white folks on the left are like, we don't care. I'm just hypothetically saying it. We don't care. So now we have Black folks from the left and Black folks on the right saying we need to do something because my child is in this school, my grandson's in this school. We got to do something. Or these different schools. We're talking about all of California. All right. So would it be would it be key that both sides would meet on different things that are itemized that needs to be addressed that we could take to Gavin Newsom to at least put on the ballot or put in the budget?
Well, I think obviously, yes. The answer to that question is yes. Obviously, there needs to be some form of lobbying, and I mean organized lobbying, and it should come from both sides. I've told you this. You know, I don't. My whole approach to politics is Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill.
Okay.
You know, I believe that the only approach that works, that's at its highest level, is a two-party approach, and you need good people on both sides because no matter who's in the seat of power, you need to have access. And and the Republican Party has no reason, and certainly not until Trump. And if they had listened to me, because a high percentage of Black men voted for Trump, if they had listened to me back in the 90s and just spent a little bit of money, we wouldn't even have to spend a lot, just a little bit of money pursuing nationally the Black vote, it would have paid off dividends in 2020. Would have paid off dividends, but they don't listen. They don't listen to us. We're not significant in the Republican Party. They don't take us seriously. And anybody that stands up like myself, you find yourself under investigation, audits after audits, but they're standing in the shade. Oh, it's not me. You know,
okay.
You can't prove that it is them either because the game is a deep game. But you know, the one thing, and I hope they're listening. The one thing I told them back then, man, you should never ever piss off a young dog because they grow old and they don't forget.
Mm-hmm. Now the thing is, DC has to be the one to bring these things to, I guess, Newsom, since you would say that he's leaning towards Newsom's side. Would you say that? Is that fair?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I don't, and I haven't, Yeah.
But okay, so now I'm asking you,
I
Mark.
don't think there's anything coming out of the Black democratic thought process for
Mark,
education
I got
that
you,
I
Mark.
would oppose.
I got you, but we gotta make some steps here.
Okay, all right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm still your student now. Don't get me wrong, but we gotta make some steps.
No, you know,
Okay, so
well, if you want, you're supposed to make a decision and keep it pushing.
yeah, but we got people listening, right? So now this is how we're going to be doing this. Okay,
All right.
Mark,
Yes.
we need you. Basically, what would people from the right need in place to address, I guess, these issues? What we say with facility. Let's go with facility. What do you see that you should tell DC to put as part of a package to bring to Newsom?
Well, and for the state of California, I would say that don't even put facilities on the list, because the state of California in the last 30 years have voted every bond and every proposition for rebuilding not just the K through 12 facilities, but also the junior college facilities, and they're actually being done. The facilities, I think, are they're either being upgraded or they're being built brand new. You go around Los Angeles, LAUSD has done a stellar job of upgrading existing facilities and building new facilities. Okay. So I would say don't even put that on the
So you shot my hypothetical, but I'm gonna move on down the list. Now we're going with staff.
Okay.
You mentioned administration.
Okay.
Okay. Now you're saying that it was too many administrators on the campus, and the thing is, if that's the case, how would that help? I mean, if you're able to take them out or whatever, or reduce them, how would that help the situation in the inner city?
Well, first of all, they're getting paid on average $125,000 to $175,000. So that money could then you go from, I don't know, basically that money could go into the classroom. That money can be diverted to principals. Instead of paying a principal, I don't know what they make, but what do they make? $90,000. So you pay a principal $125,000. You increase her responsibility, and then you take you increase her budget based on the reduction of the cost of administration, and you earmark that money to go directly into the classroom, so the teachers can stop buying pencils and paper with their own money, because they do that, and I've seen them do it, so I know they do it. And it's unfair to have them doing it. And then after you do that, you make sure that you in the site committees, you make sure you put money in that budget for continued education. Teachers voluntarily will attend. They want to attend continued education. Why? Because first and foremost, it boosts their annual income, and second most, it allows them to increase their skill level. I know I've seen it. They're anxious to do it.
So you're saying that, take away some of the administrators, but increase some of the caseload on the teachers?
No,
but with incentives?
Principals. Put principals in charge of the schools. Principals. Teachers are already loaded up. They already got 35, 40 kids in the classroom. How much more can you load them up? You can't. Teachers are. I'm pro teachers. Teachers are doing it. I'm telling you. If it wasn't for the teachers going the extra mile, staying till 6 and 7 and 8 o'clock at night, I've seen them do it. I know they do it.
Okay, so what do you think, DC? Is that something that you can bring to Newsom, or do you think he should tweak what he's saying?
No, I think that there's no disagreement. I have full agreement with that. Wholesale, definitely not putting the pressure on teachers to feel the need that they have to, supply some of their most at-risk students with supplies, because they can't formally do a class with having a student there with no supplies at all due to their home situation. It's just a bad mix of creating an environment that is not conducive to learning primarily. So to what he was saying, I do agree with that. I think that's one of the first things that I would do. I wouldn't label it Black community or Black boys in particular. I will probably just say at-risk boys. But I think that the same way that the coded language has been basically coded on their side, as far as like pinpointing racialized communities, you know, like using words like inner city and things of that nature, you can reverse engineer that and say that, you know, at-risk boys that are basically in need of help with educational reform, kind of getting them ramped up in school and focusing on them the most, maybe primarily, maybe giving them, if possible, one of the most talented teachers, if possible. I know that's a reach, but, you know, to start to kind of implement some of those things to kind of get them on the way of getting them educated properly, because it has to begin early. If we're starting late at high school, that's where we're running into a problem, because by that time people are already I mean, you know, boys are getting shot on the street at 13. I mean, by police officers, because they're looked to be an imminent threat to people that's out, you know, walking around. So when you have a situation that's that tenuous, you want to get them while they're 5, 4, you know, 6 years old, to kind of get them acclimated into the school system. And I know it's not an easy ask, but maybe you identify the teacher that can communicate with those at-risk students the most, and to get them ramped up and get them used to the school system, so they can get used to getting educated properly, and we won't lose as many. Not to say that it's going to be foolproof, but then we won't lose as many. And then, you know, as far as the funding is concerned, we already talked about it. I mean, the money is there for most of these school systems. The money just needs to be allocated properly, and that could be pushed to the certain administrator. If you have to go above board or go above them, possibly losing your position, because people are scared of losing their position, because most of the people that's in charge of you handle the money. So, you know, when you're dealing with teachers and principals, they push, but they don't push too hard, because if they go above them, then of course that administrator, if they don't get taxed first, they're going to tax them and knock them on out the paint. So that's what we're dealing with also. So the red tape of that. So that's where we at with that also. Go ahead.
If let me share an example of how individuals like us can actually be an asset to the system in this regard. Like I said, I served on site committees at a particular school, and the teachers, I developed good relationships with teachers, principals, not so much one particular vice principal, but I won't even go into that. And what they would do is they would pull me to the side. They would give me an issue that needs to be publicly addressed that they cannot address.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go downtown and pound on the tables. And I would go downtown to the public meetings and pound on the tables. And as a result of them working silently within the system and me pounding on the tables, everything we wanted got funded.
Okay, so we're going to go back. So it's now, and what should we call this, by the way? There should be a name like my principal's keeper or something. I'm just throwing it out there. But, you know, what should DC label this proposal to Newsom? You know, what would be a catchy thing that you think that you should be able to take to him?
Basics.
Back to basics?
That's what I would say.
Okay, back to basics.
Keep it simple. Back to basics.
Okay, back to basics. I'm writing a lot of stuff down as y'all speak.
All right. And so doing, I mean, I know that a lot of folks don't like hearing this. We want to talk about principals and teachers and administrators, but you want to know the key factor in this? Parenting. That's the key factor. Now,
okay. So we want to be able to
have a can of worms, but
I mean, it's cool, but we want to be able to put something in DC's hands so that parents can continue to be parenting or even improve on their parent game.
Well,
right. So
well, look, the fact is, DC said it himself 30 minutes ago about parents that are involved and concerned about their children's education. They've been putting their children on their back and walking 5 miles through snow, through broken glass, to make sure their kids get educated, using addresses, as DC said, breaking the law. And I support them 100%. And it's unfortunate that a system would put a parent in a position where they have to be criminal in order to get their children a good education. Shame on any system that does that. So I'm completely in favor of that. the thing is that the disconnect is this: the kids that are being left behind are the ones that don't have good parenting and good advocates, and the teachers are doing the best they can at being counselors and physicians, psychologists. They're doing the best they can, but they're not equipped and should not be equipped to deal with a child being molested by a stepfather or by their mother.
That's too much.
It's just, there's some things, frankly, that government can't deal with.
Yeah.
So we put something in place,
and that's where we at. And I'm glad you said that, because that's fundamentally where it bleeds into.
That's exactly
almost like it's just like dealing with the police force. Police force is not properly adjusted to deal with mentally ill people.
That's absolutely.
And when you have a situation that comes off as a concern for somebody else's well-being, where does it stop at? I mean, okay, I had to make a judgment call on this, but I'm not formally trained to deal with mental patients or people that should be in a facility. Right. And that's where we're dealing with these schools. When you have a parent that's negligent and that is not able to properly parent that child, whose responsibility is that? Because at the end of the day, the child is the one that's going to be hurt at the end of the day, or the children. And then that family structure breaks down, because then it bleeds into what our society ends up becoming. If you forget about those children and then they end up growing up, and then of course the decay, basically, like I said, it starts to stink from the bottom. It rots. Right. And now you got a situation, like I said earlier, where people from more affluent areas where they do have a 2-parent household, they're starting to lose their children, because there's so many children that are in these situations where they have popularized the culture breakdown, So you'll get these twerk. I mean, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but this is all part of the school system too. You'll have a mom twerking on the gram and with her child there, or her young, butt naked, dancing, shaking tail, a dude loading a 9mm with his son in the back, or that's right there in the house with them smoking, doing whatever they do, because you have children, just raising children that are not able to properly parent, and nobody's watching them. And so the grandparent, which has been basically eliminated in this equation. I mean, shout out to you, Mark. I mean, one of the few grandparents left, but a lot of people don't really have that resource anymore to right. give their children to the grandparents to where they'll take care of them. I mean, right. So we're in a bad situation, because that's going to bleed into the classroom, because these kids are the ones that are in these classes. So that's where we at.
So should we put something in this package to address the parental issues here, or should we just tell them be a better parent?
That's where we probably going to diverge, because then I would say that it is a situation where the government has to take that on to kind of improve things from the bottom on up. But a lot of conservative brethren going to be like, well, where does the faucet stop? We can't leave the faucet on all day and have this drain on the financial system, on taking care of people that have been basically morally, inconsistent with their upbringing. So go ahead, Mark.
I'm gonna respond to that as a Republican, as a pro-business thinker, center right thinker. That's a crap. That's a bunch of crap. If they come up with that, I would tell them that's bullshit. When we look at the amount of subsidies that we pay farmers along not to grow food, the amount of money we put into our space program. I don't care about going out to space. People come first in my mind.
So you're saying that parenting should be incentivized?
There's a pragmatic reason for putting people first.
Are you saying that parenting should be
I have never heard a Republican speak like you, by the way, especially a black one.
That's why I brought them on, y'all.
So that is wild. Yeah. Go run that back. That's crazy. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm serious. I'm serious. I mean, you just think about it. I'm gonna give you an example in the city of Los Angeles. Los Angeles and Santa Monica, two of the most liberal areas. They've made all these liberal rules, and so what's happened? The homeless have basically shown up in just droves between the city of Los Angeles and the city of Santa Monica. As a result of it, what do we have? We have the spread of disease. And I'm not talking about sexually transmitted diseases. I'm talking about staph infections. I'm talking about, just common disease as a result of bad hygiene. You know how much money we spend between these two cities annually just preventing the spread of disease?
Mhm.
It's a waste of money. The money should have, the homelessness should have never been allowed to happen, period.
Sounds like a Medicare for all for me.
It is. Well, no. We don't need Medicare for all. That's not what we need. That's not what we need. No.
Walk right into that.
We need a, in my opinion, we need a market-driven solution. We need a market-driven solution.
I agree. The only reason why I disagree with that, just to kind of be serious for a second, the reason why I disagree with the Medicare for all, because it would be the same thing that happened with the educational system would happen with Medicare. Right. It will be too many administrators, too many people making, cuts at the end of the day at the very, very top. And the people that need the Medicare the most are going to still be suffering the most. So it's just,
you sound like no Democrat.
Oh.
You sound like a Republican right there.
Because I don't fall for the talking points, man. All I deal with is just facts, man, as I see it. I mean, we may differ, but like if you care about people, you understand what the issues are, and you can't really lie about that because it's just too blatant to see at this point, and it's hurting both sides. It doesn't help anybody what's going on right now.
So what should he put? So Mark, how should he word the addressing parental duties when it comes to students in education?
I would put it as a byline in the educational presentation, but I would not include it as a line item. The byline would then draw a line from the educational line items to the mental health, public health budget. It should come out of a completely different budget, because the other budget would then open us up to a different skill set of professionals that are actually trained to respond to this. And I would say in doing so, I would make strong suggestions to the state government that those budgets be a part of police reform, and where we have mental health kind of ambulances, for lack of a better terminology, or mental health teams that can be mobile, that will have medications, that will have all of the tools that they need in order to immediately respond to a mental health crisis. And child molestation is a mental health crisis. Anybody who molested a child is mentally ill.
Agree.
Now, do we have enough to put in this package and then later get some kind of amendment?
That's a lot of meat on that bone right there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's the reason why I said you
got to get through a lot of red tape, and that's what I'm saying. Because the things that are needed when you dealing with some of the issues that we're speaking about, that's happening on the ground, which comes from the negligent stuff that's at the top. That's where, if you filter it down, we have to have a situation where it's practical at the end of the day, and we don't really have people that do things that are practical or that's pragmatic for everybody else. They're just too in line to where the money at, where the money leads, and who's going to benefit at the end of the day. And that's big bank take little bank at the end of the day, and that's where we at with these politic games. And both sides hurt. That's what I'm saying. People that are concerned on both sides can have a real conversation like this, right?
Yes.
But if I go there and I present it, they'll go and chop and screw it and mix and match it to fit whatever needs. Well, don't forget we need to put this in here. Well, that's not what I was here for. Oh, don't forget, well, we need to add, but so-and-so said, oh, well, that's not what I wanted here for. And then by the end of it, it's not looking like the bill that either one of us wanted to actually propose. And that can be a bipartisan thing. And that's where it gets tricky. It's just like the Affordable Care Act. It's just, at the end of the day, it turned into what I was afraid of. being a bureaucratic, top heavy type of deal where people don't trust it. They don't want to buy into it. And it's just, you're still competing against the private sector when it comes down to healthcare. Then of course people are not going to buy into it.
Yeah, but that's where you bring it back to the people that came up with the package and say, okay, well, we'll reconfigure it in a way to where they will be able to approve this, but we can let go of that.
Yeah,
you know, we don't need this, but we'll put. I mean, isn't that how it works, though? You know, like
we really need to refresh the political arena. We need to refresh it with fresh minds on both sides, whether you're conservative or liberal, even progressive minds or far right minds, to be able to have a real dialogue about how to move forward. And I think what ends up getting poisoned is, okay, when somebody gets into the House of Representatives, so to speak, no matter what side are you on, you're going to meet up with a committee. They're going to coach you on how things are ran in DC, no matter where you're from. This is what we do here. This is where the money is. This is people that you got to deal with and stuff like that. And they end up changing. People change.
But I want to remind
after
you,
a while.
I want to remind you, though, when you bring this package to Newsom, you're going to have a lot of Black Republican backing. Mark represents a lot of powerful Black Republicans, and you have people in your party as well. So that kind of, I mean, does that says anything as far as
it says a lot. It still says a lot, but if we still have both parties and some of the people, even where we bringing it to them, still compromise in both circles, that's where we have a problem. But if we have that kind of sale, then yeah, it won't be an issue. We can still get a lot of things that we need done, but we need the unity to get that done. But yeah, I see that's a possibility.
So that's why, and you guys pretty. Oh, go ahead.
California, I don't think in California that the personality has emerged to make the Republican point of view significant, Black or otherwise. You know,
okay.
It's coming. It's going to come. I'm certain of that. But I don't think that person on a statewide level. Come on, both of our U.S. senators are
feminist.
They're Democrats. They're Democrats. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, and so. And I think that the rest of the country, if you look at where California Republican Party is today, it's where the National Republican Party is going to be in 4 years.
Because it has to change, brother. It has to reform itself, like you said. It has to change.
Exactly right. So does the National Republican Party to become significant.
Yeah, it has to change. Yeah.
But this is what I mean. But this is what I mean. You know, not to go too far off, but this is what I want. This is what I envision. You know, even though, I mean, we're just doing a YouTube session of it, but I was supposed to have 2 on one side and 2 on the other. They I don't know what I don't know why. Well, one said he let me know they couldn't make it, the other one didn't respond. So my whole thing is that I just want to have more of these discussions, even though it's not as popular as people should think it is, but it's like we literally just sat here and put some ideals together. Some things weren't agreed upon, but yet some things were flexible. Some things were like, hey, okay, I can deal with that. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So I think we should do that in all 9 areas of activity.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I certainly, frankly, I tell you what I'd love to see. If I had a magic wand and I could create the national political machinery, I would say I would want to see 80% of Black men become Republicans, 20% of them stay in the Democratic Party. And then I would say 80% of Black women stay in the Democratic Party and 20% of them become Republicans. And then we understand that white Democrats and white Republicans do business together every day in this country.
Yeah.
And it's time for us to elevate our thinking to that level. And when we do that, and we're going to do it, I absolutely have no doubt in my mind that we're going to do it. The question is when will we come to that realization and have that epiphany? But that epiphany is in front of us, and it will happen.
Okay. Now, do you guys mind if I put the link? Because I'm only going to probably do another 30 minutes. But you guys mind if I put the link in the chat so people can come up and give their opinions on what just transpired on this live, so they can.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be able to stick around much longer. I actually have a 4:30 appointment, and it's 30 minutes away.
Okay, I hear you, because I'm gonna start dinner at 4 anyway. But that's why I'm just gonna get 30 minutes. But
man, it's so weird to hear you guys talk like that, because it's already like about to be 7 here, so it's just it's already dark outside, man. You know.
But yeah, I'm gonna try to do something on Wednesday, because MOT wanted to touch on labor.
Oh, okay, that'd be good. Yeah, that'd be good.
So like I said, the people on the right that I bring, I try to bring the ones that are able to have a conversation.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's what I was saying. That's why I had to drag Mark over here, man, because this dude got all kinds of stuff he got to do. So that's all I'm trying to do, is just have the dialogue, the conversation, and then see what we can do to move forward. This
Great dialogue. I appreciate your approach, DC. Mad respect.
No problem, man. We are out here on the other side, man. Everybody is not just some bleeding leftists where they just talking crazy all the time.
I mean, everybody in his space, man. I've been talking about this.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Did I lose you guys?
No, we hear. We hear.
Can you hear us?
You hear us?
We hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Because a lot of these. Oh, go ahead, Fred.
Off camera, because I'm actually in the process of preparing for a meeting, and I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah, because that's okay. But like, I just remind people that are listening, when they try to accuse brothers of being far left or whatever that is, it ain't like too many brothers come in this space being tree huggers and eating grape nuts and walking barefoot and trying to save the forest and blowing the PETA and all this. I mean, I haven't heard any brothers in this space do that. I haven't.
Even though I've been thrown in with that lot, so to speak. They just threw me on in there.
So that's the part I don't like, with the stuff that transpires between brothers in this space. It's like, dude, let's talk about stuff that we need to at least agree upon. Some of the stuff we don't agree on, okay, we'll table that. We'll get back to that. But the stuff that we need to do to find out how we're gonna land this plane, we don't got much time. We got to figure out who knows how to navigate, move things around, who knows the machinery, who knows how to whatever it is, because right now we about to crash.
Yeah, and while we're doing that, crash just looks like another generation lost. So if you don't like what it looks like now, by the time I'm Mark's age, I'm just gonna be, I don't know how if I'll be that kind of, just fed up by that time, hopefully I can get some levity with it. But almost like when I see where we're going, and 5-10 years down the line, that where we wasn't able to come together and kind of bury some of the ego and be able to solve some of these doable problems. That's really doable. We can fix it. But it's just the fact that a lot of people want to stay I guess on their team, so to speak, and kind of make it more of a cultural issue instead of just looking at it as this is still dealing with mostly Black people. And if you care about Black people, you got to get to a pragmatic solution at the end of the day, even if we don't fundamentally agree on everything.
Right.
And we got the God of Simps here, known as.
Oh man, there you go. I'm not going to. I'm gonna let it be. I'm gonna let it be. I ain't gonna say nothing, man. Go ahead. The God of Simps. only your be more, dude, man. I'm telling you, man. Special cases, bro.
That was me representing DC. Hey girl, let me buy you something. Hey girl,
don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, we probably gonna have to bring Charles here when we talk about law.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna go into law, because that's very.
A lot of times when I heard y'all talking about police reform and all this, I don't know how many times I'm gonna say it. Yes, I am under the weather.
Dang, really?
Trust me.
Oh man, you need to He had the John Hopkins,
He's
bro.
even vain with his under the weatherness.
Jump over there, off Pratt. Get over there
I
quickly,
look,
off
so, I look
Pratt.
so pretty with my
I already
shoes.
went to get checked. And basically, I have to be quarantined for 2 weeks.
Oh, damn. So you got the COV.
Uh-huh.
Man, yo, take care of yourself, brother, man. If you need to really, take that serious, man. Take that serious, bro.
I have to,
Okay.
I'm taking so much fluids and so many damn medications and pain relievers. It's
I know. Yeah, it's serious. That's another thing. I mean, look at the wrangling that we done with that, and how many people we have lost. I've lost family members. I mean, there are people here, even in this space, that's afraid to even tell the truth about it because they're going to be looked at like they're just trying to sell a talking point, and it's senseless. It's a real thing, man. Real thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you look at mental health issues, like they're not going to put money into different stuff because, like, for example, in Baltimore, you have best trained officers who do the behavioral. Usually, you'll have like a lot of officers trained in behavioral issues and science. So a lot of times you'll talk to them. And then on top of that, the medic, if the person's not violent or doesn't pose a threat, and they want to go to the hospital to speak to somebody because of an issue, we'll just let them go on the medic. But if they're violent and they were swinging knives or doing something, they got to come with us. They got to be handcuffed and either in the wagon or the back of the car. And it's called emergency petition. So
I'm gonna check that. I'm gonna check that out, New. Was it good or bad? I'm gonna check that out, Judge Zilla. But go ahead, fam.
So a lot of times people don't realize this. You can't be arrested when you have mental issues. When, let's say the person just spaz it out and they're breaking furniture or fighting somebody and it's because of a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
They're not arrested. They actually have to be mentally evaluated.
Yeah, to take my headset off so I can give New shout out for the cash app. Appreciate you, fam. Yeah. But yeah, man, I hope you take care of that, man. You definitely have to do
I haven't seen
to build up your immune system.
Yeah,
that's the key thing. Your immune system, no matter what you have.
Vitamin C, man. A lot of vitamin C. Yeah.
Powder kind. Don't get the tablets. Get the powder. Put it in your juices.
Yeah, man.
You can put it in your sweets. If you eat sweets, you can put it in things that are tart.
And I haven't seen Judge Zilla in a while, man. I hope he's okay, man. I hope he didn't. I hope he's doing fine, man. I hope it ain't nothing serious, man. With like I said, man, it's funny because I don't mean to interrupt, but I just need to say this, man. Like I lost two family members myself. I mean, this is serious, man. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
Oh, and man, damn, his pops passed. See, that's what I'm saying, man. That's tough,
14
bro.
years past this stuff.
Yeah, man. I had a homeboy, man. I went to school with, man. His father and his wife. His father passed it to his wife, which is my friend's wife, and they both passed. Them two.
That's why
this is not even a family member. I'm saying, like, and he's okay. He was asystematic, and it's just like. I can't even have a discussion. I refuse to have a argument with someone that don't see the sun outside shining. I can't have that argument with you.
And this is our.
I'll tell you what's so bad about it. Imagine one day you're lifting almost 500 pounds, and then the next day you're delirious. You can't even barely lift a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what Nicole Ali, I'm putting this right here on the screen. She said vitamin C, you got to get the highest milligram of D3, zinc. Be careful with your zinc because if you take too much, you get a stomach ache. So just take whatever, like maybe 20 milligrams or 10 at a time. And then Caladium silver, you take that under your tongue. Yeah. So you're able to do that, you should be able to survive the game, but you got to catch it early.
It's amazing. I haven't met one person that works in the medical field that has said this is a hoax. Not one.
Oh no, it's
not one person, not one personal person that I know. And I know all of us know somebody that's a nurse, scientist like Nicole Ali. Shout out to Nicole Ali. Somebody that's that works in nursing, that's a doctor, maybe. Nobody has basically said this is false or this is fake. Everybody said this is serious. We have a whole floor. I'm seeing people die. It's like they don't even want to talk about it. It's almost like they're in a war zone, damn near, especially in the high impact areas. It's not a game, man. It's affecting people that's even there. They're gonna have to have mental treatment after this because they're seeing so many bodies drop so fast. They can't deal with it. And it's hard to explain because some people get so sick, and then you see people that don't get as sick, and it's kind of hard to believe, but it affects everybody's body in different ways. And we have to be in this space in particular. We have to let facts lead us to a conclusion to where we're not going to argue about facts on the ground, brothers. We can't do that, man. Especially when we got people that are very, very close to us that are possibly suffering for this. We don't know how this is going to affect Charles. You know what I'm saying? And this is brother. We all know. We know he ain't fronting or faking. Come on, man.
Even if people don't believe it, just be careful. You know, I mean, because you got people you just can't convince. Okay, well, are you just gonna walk around and then just do whatever you want?
But it's detrimental to art. That's what I'm saying. It's not just about them at that point. It's about them and who they basically can expose to this, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
That's what I'm encouraging people. That you know, I mean, you saw a lot of people that were at the voting booth saying only God could kill me, not no virus. I'm like, okay, well, but the thing is, even that's so. How would you conduct yourself around a whole bunch of sick people? Are you still gonna have that same mentality, or are you gonna like do the necessary precautions to keep things out of your space where you're able to at least, you know, breathe or keep from getting sick?
It's just Man, pray for that brother, man. That brother's condolences to Judge Zilla, man. Losing your father like that, man. Peace out to that brother, man.
Wow. So that's what happened to Judge Zilla?
Yeah, that's what they said in the chat, man. That he lost his brother, man. And I haven't heard the program or whatever. I thought it was him that had possibly had COVID. But if it's his pops, if that's true, man, I know he's suffering, man. Because like I said, my homeboy, he can't even. Like I said, he lost his wife and his pops. Think about that. He lost his wife and his father. I mean, he can't even talk. He can't even talk to people.
Yeah.
He can't even talk. He's messed up. Literally messed up. Now, how do you explain that to your children?
You don't.
Yeah.
At least not
crazy, man.
Yourself.
That's tough, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, this is one of the most positive brothers I know, man. But you know, he don't even want to talk to nobody. It's just, you know, and I can't force it on him, but you know, it's how it is, man. And we're taught to not really kind of share the things that hurt us the most in our communities already, especially from the hood. So that's compounding it. So it's a bad situation all the way around, man. And I just refuse to just allow somebody to say that in front of me and be like, hold on, man. Look, man, if you believe that, man, keep that to yourself, man. Don't be detrimental to everybody else out here, man. Just because you don't see the sun shining outside or you don't believe the water is wet, bro. Don't put your falsities on everybody else because you're trying to prove a political point. We should be beyond that at this time frame, man.
I stay away from him. I treat him like he have a disease. I stay away from him.
But they got too much influence, though, Art. These people that do this, they got too much influence, too much pull in our communities. And it hurts us at the end of the day, man. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's facts.
There's a lot of AB here. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation about COVID and all that shit where people are just not really taking it seriously. And I know too many people that have lost loved ones and stuff like that. And it's ridiculous how much people just don't take this seriously. It really is.
I don't know anybody personally that's lost their life, but I do know somebody that got it, and she was pregnant with twins when she got it. She was like 7 or 8 months. She was a nurse.
And how did she fare?
She fared pretty good. She was in her mid-20s, so she fared pretty good, and the twins came out all right.
Oh, cool. That's good news.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. But this stuff ain't nothing to play with.
Yeah, you know that COVID stuff? Yeah, it's fake. Fake as shit. Yeah.
Hope you get better, Charles.
You know, it was so bad. Like, COVID I will say this in the most elegant way I can say it. COVID will fuck you up like a leg breaker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, my mother came and she helping me out. So did my father and my son. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take the truck. I'm gonna drive. And, you know, I take 2 steps and the world spins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm like, the hell with that, Ma. You drive. My temperature was like 100.6.
Yeah,
Ooh.
107. Yeah, that's what
Oh
I
yeah.
heard.
Oh yeah.
107. The temperature gets high, you get delirious. Yeah.
and a lot of people telling me that they thought they had something like that in January and February.
Yeah, like vertigo. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, a lot of people like suffer from vertigo. Yeah,
It was crazy. The doctor was like, man, you weren't as healthy as you were. You'd have been dead a long time ago.
Yep.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know how many people come to my channel. I preach, man. Your fitness is your wealthiness, man.
Yeah.
I'm so weak. I haven't even cleaned up my room yet, and I'm literally quarantined in my bedroom. Like I told my son, don't come to my room without your gloves, without your mask.
Yep.
Don't come there. Just stay in your room. I gave him hand sanitizer, disinfectant spray. Stay there.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it takes, just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that there's so many things that happen in this world that people that they didn't take it serious. Either they died or they're suffering now.
Well, there's this notion that's going on with this. Is where what I've seen, especially with white people, where it's like, if I get it, I get it.
Oh, like Trump said.
Yeah, it'd be like, if you get it, you get it, and it's like they're going around hanging out with each other, doing all this other stuff, and like I just like, yo, y'all, wow.
That's why I gargle. I swear to God, y'all, and I got to buy some more Listerine every time I go out. Like, you know, like in the store or something, I come back home and gargle with Listerine. The gold kind. I'll keep telling people, not that fresh bull crap, the gold stuff.
Not only that, but also gargle with salt, man.
You can do
salt and warm water.
That salt and warm water will kill so much shit.
Yeah, you got to do whatever you can to keep whatever could grow and all of that kind of. You got to do something when you get home, because you don't know who's passed across. You don't know who touched the same stuff that's on the same aisles in the store. You don't know who you stand in line with. I mean, all kind of stuff going on, because that mask is not really taking away stuff that's coming under there.
And spray and wash your mask, please.
Yeah, wash your mask at least every other day or weekly. At least that. Try to wash your mask.
You know the wildest shit I've ever seen, and I was guilty of that only once. And when I sat down, I felt stupid. Going into a restaurant with a mask on, sitting down and taking off your mask to eat.
Well, that's true.
I did that one time, and then halfway through my meal, I was like, you know what? I feel real fucking stupid. I told him to bag up the rest of my shit and leave.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, what's the point? Yeah.
Get it to go, man. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Because I know one thing. I'm a damn good cook now. I've been in a restaurant a long time.
Mm-hmm. Can't make no curry chicken though.
Yeah, I can make some damn curry chicken. I'm good at that. And the rice. Matter of fact, I'm a curry rice champion. A lot of people don't know what I thought I can only go to the restaurant. I do better in the restaurant, so they need to be paying me.
No, it's always better to cook at home because it's actually better for you.
Oh yeah, so that's the key thing. Go ahead.
It's a running gag between my friends when I told them. They were like, "Yo, you okay?" I said, "Well, I'm still above ground, so that's a good point." They were like, "When the last time did you drink?" About a week and a half ago. See, that's why you got sick. You stopped drinking.
Oh boy,
the drunken god.
Here we go.
Be his new name, drunken god.
They were like, all that alcohol killed all the germs. You were good. You stopped for 1 week and a half, man. You get.
I'm afraid to see you light a match, Charles.
Huh?
Yeah. I'm afraid to see you light a match.
Oh yeah.
He light a match and blow in it just be.
Well, I don't drink that. I don't drink that much.
Bullshit.
Bullshit if I do.
You want to put your liver to the test, homie?
Yeah, but it's come out clean every time.
No, okay. Damn. You must have got some golden seal somewhere around.
That's because how much damn look at he drinks. You know, if you drink so much liquor, your damn pee turn clear.
Oh yeah.
You would, because you drink motor oil. That's how you would know. God damn. No, I don't even drink that much. Like last time I drank was a week and a half ago.
BJ's Hangouts say otherwise.
Oh
yeah, even then.
And it's recorded.
Like I might take a.
It's
even
recorded.
then, I would have a glass or two.
Negro. You fell asleep in your fucking car outside your house. Drunk on a hangout.
No, I wasn't drunk. Wow. I was tired. I didn't sleep that damn. I didn't sleep much that day.
We heard you, man.
We heard you.
I was like tired as shit.
So we like, who is that? Yeah, let's not put him on mute.
Let's not talk about the one time he fell asleep. We thought we had a tractor up there in like fucking Iowa.
The tractor.
Always point me to that lie.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. So that's the whole thing tonight. I mean, probably Wednesday. I'm gonna try to do it Wednesday if people come through or whatever. I don't know if Mark wants to come through, but we're gonna cover labor next time. So we're going to go down to statistics as far as who's who's hurting on the labor part, unemployment, which is usually us,
and black men,
and what kind of policies that we can propose to whatever. We'll probably use a Republican governor next time.
You need to get rid of all that stupid shit they put in the civil rights bill, and make sure that it's implemented for black men.
Well, you're never going to get anything that's going to be directly written for us as far as the language is concerned. You have to fit it into the margins of the categories. So you have to fit the language around the group, so to speak. So the only time I've seen like a special interest group or a group in particular has been like women in particular, right?
Yeah.
And LGBTQ. Like they specifically write laws for them to where that particular group looked at separately from everything else. But black men in particular, because we're so-called part of this so-called patriarchy as a whole, no, they wouldn't write us into that.
See, DC, don't tread on my dreams.
No, you can still get it done. It just has to be written.
Yeah,
up
I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, there needs to be something that's going to be worded to the way that everybody's going to accept it, and it's going to have to affect us.
That's
basically you have to involve white men into it.
Well, that's why seeing My Brother's Keeper, that when I saw how that failed, then it made sense why President Obama was not as aggressive when it came down to black men policies as a whole. And then, he has a certain view that should have been checked a long time ago also, especially when it came down to some of the issues that we have on a regular basis with our group.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry about that. I'm multitasking.
Go ahead, Mark.
Actually, I don't have anything to say. I'm just listening.
Okay. Yeah, so we have to find out how we be able to write, from the left and the right, how we be able to package the language and who we're going to prepare it for, that kind of thing. Because I think labor is huge because that's how we make money and feed families and right. All kinds of stuff. So we have to find a way to address those issues because people keep thinking that unemployment is based on people with low income, but you got doctors and lawyers that need work too.
Yeah.
I think it first starts. It has to start with education, because black men have some of the lowest scores in education right now. So
we addressed that on this. Here. So
but that's the start though. We got to address that. We have to.
I agree.
Because we got so I guess I'm gonna try Wednesday, y'all. If whoever shows up, because I'm gonna try to start it off with the small group, and then later on open it up to the public to have people comment on what they heard. So I think this might be a good vehicle for that.
Yeah, that's a good discussion.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Interesting news. Apparently, Trump is letting the transition begin.
Did you guys think it was going to be any different way?
I know, really.
No,
I have tried to.
I'm writing on the wall. I'm writing on the wall after he got nominated. So,
well, I thought you guys, if you know, knowing me, and I hope that you guys could trust me a little bit more now with my knowledge. It's not like I'm trying to gaslight. I'm not doing like once I started to see the writing on the wall and how it was being played out, it was just it was bigger than Nino Brown. That's why I kept saying that. It's bigger than Nino Brown.
Right.
It's bigger than him.
Absolutely.
It's about management. It's about management at this point.
Absolutely.
You know, how to manage the country in a peaceful way. After you're in the middle of a pandemic. We can't be going through politics at this time. Right. And people that are stubborn that don't want to govern the country properly. If you follow that logic, then you understand exactly what took place. But if you want to hold on to your views and be staunched in it, then that's where we still have these difficult discussions that we have within our space.
Yeah, the way I see it, there's more than enough wiggle room to, they won't screw everything up.
And like I said, Biden is one of the most conservative Democrats you're going to see in your lifetime.
You basically was running against two Republicans. You basically run two Republicans.
Well, no, you ran against two Dixiecrats. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's
at the end of the day.
That's fair enough. That's true.
That's what they are. They part of the Strom Thurmond mode. Trump's father was not a Republican in 1919. His dad was a Democrat. And at that time, Democrats was the party of well, you said it. I didn't want to go there because I think I gaslighted, but those are the facts. So that's what it is. Well, no, that's not about that. It's not even about the racist part. Even beyond that, there are some things that he did on the Republican side to where some of it needed to be done, but then it got to the point where it got so poisonous that these people can't even work together anymore, and they had to get him on out the paint. So to reform the party properly, so he came in as a destroyer of the party in the traditional sense, where he kind of uncovered.
He was very successful at doing
uncovered the sheets a little bit, so to speak, and took the clothes off, and they walked around naked for 4 years, and there was no hiding, and then he brought out the hypocrisy in both parties, which is a good thing. You need that every once in a while. You need that every once in a while.
He should have never let Stephen Moore in that White House.
You say what?
He should have never let Stephen Moore in that White House.
Why you say that? I'm curious to hear why would you say that?
Because he's the jackass that convinced him to hold him.
Convinced to do what?
He was one of the jackasses that convinced him to play games with the stimulus.
Oh man, listen, man. Trump don't like being forced to do something that he think is not something that he wants to do. That's one of the main things. So he's going to put people around. He's going to put people around.
Yeah, John McCain.
He's going to put people around him that's going to kind of echo his points. That's all.
I think that was the nail in the coffin when he like Marcus.
He lost Arizona. Yeah, he lost Arizona when he did that. Yeah, you can win Arizona. You're knocking down their favorite son. You out of your mind. Yeah,
out of your mind. And he didn't just knock him down. He went after the family after his death during the grieving period.
Kids. Can't do that, man.
Loser. Are you kidding?
Man, you basically talking about who Rambo saved in the 80s. That's John McCain. That's who we went back to get. That's Rambo's homeboy. What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing? You out of your mind?
He was out of his mind.
That's a POW. That's what the Rambo movie is about. Remember, he's like, I'm coming. He was like, Colonel so-and-so, I'm coming for you. When he found out the orders were by him, like, shit, bring out that big old knife. Anyway, people that don't understand Rambo, that's what it was about, basically.
Yeah.
People that was left behind.
They just put Rambo Mortal Kombat.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Yeah, they put Rambo.
They just put Rambo in Mortal Kombat.
He said mission accomplished.
Yeah. They even got him in camouflage and shit. He comes out of the camouflage.
Oh man, when he found out that the job was basically working from both sides and nobody was straight up, man, he was pissed. He was like, Curtis, I'm coming for you. Like,
I just only
yeah,
watched,
man.
I only
So
watched
that's
it,
you can't
I watched the one where
turn
he
against the
was
military, man.
yeah. I watched the one where he was in the small town. I don't know which one it was. That's the only Rambo I've seen.
First Blood.
So
That's first.
so,
Um,
so I'm gonna
yeah,
do. I gotta soak
Go
this
ahead.
chicken in garlic. So I'm about to go ahead and
Okay.
do Chef Boyard art.
Uh-oh.
Anybody have last words?
Hey, I appreciate the manhood on this stream today. Period. Across the board.
Oh man, we out here, man.
It would
We
be.
out here.
That's how we do, man. This is we're wearing ties. That's why I got that background of these are senators, the first black senators.
Yeah.
Background.
All Republicans, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
All Republicans.
How is it possible?
I know, right?
A lot of black people back in the day were Republicans. A lot of black people back. In
Yeah,
the day
it's not. You're not all of a sudden just dropping big facts by saying that. Like people be like, man, don't you know everybody black? Of course, everybody knows that. If you follow Reconstruction, you know that that's the case.
My own father was Republican. Come on, man.
The problem is, why did the black people leave? We're not all that stupid. Why did black people leave at the end of the day? And that's what it comes down to.
Because of Richard Nixon.
And he's from where?
He's from the Republican Party.
And what state is he from, though?
He's from California.
California love.
Hey,
I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. We talked about that. I just had to do that. California.
California.
Hopefully I'll be able to if not Wednesday, then probably the week. But definitely want to have these type of discussions every so often, so we can show how it's like for brothers, and then hopefully people can do the playback and even share with their senators or Congress people or whatever.
Yeah, man.
And that's about it, y'all. But shoot, man, it's all been lovely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Salute, man. Thanks a lot, Mark. AB, Art even more. Thanks for coming up. Art New Style. Thanks for letting us shine. Let us share with you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, brothers on the panel.
Thank you,
man.
Coming through. All right, y'all. I ain't gonna burn nothing though.